And then they have the audacity to say, yes, but the bank needs to make its money.
Yeah, yeah.
Why?
You must use you to make money.
Correct.
Nothing for you.
Well, besides that, I have a specific issue with Nedbank in the sense that they sponsor a so-called $1 million golf tournament yearly. With whose money? Or with whose liability?
No, that's a problem.
How can you give out $1 million worth of liability to someone else based on hitting a small white ball into a hole, and you say you're a limited liability company? Where do you derive it from? That on its own should wake you up in front of the TV when you doze off, when you look at the Sun City shenanigans going around. And I'm not against sport. I'm against sport funded by someone or something that uses people's liability and suck the living daylight out of them in order to do that.
It's exactly the same situation with the minister with the smart car, 6 smart cars. Waar krijg je geld om my smart cars te gaan koop? Van die inkomstebelasting.
Besides that, we allow them to do that, Brunel. That's my point. We also need to understand that we need to take responsibility because we have the responsibility.
Yes.
We have the responsibility.
Kyk na die mense wat so swaar kry. Jou hart vol seer as jy dit kyk. En hulle kry swaar ten koste van 'n stelsel wat hulle niks anders as pionne maak nie. En dis nie nodig nie.
Correct. Maar dis ook ons verantwoordelikheid nou om hierdie ding te breek. Dis hierdie generasie wat hierdie kinders gaan vrymaak deur dit op te roep, om die volmag op te roep, om te sê, we're going to utilize our power of attorney and we are responsible. We have the responsibility, not a piece of paper.
And we're going to see the results for ourselves as well. It's not too late.
Yes. It's never too late because there's no time. Time is a function of the Satan program running itself out now. So when you step back far enough, you see there is no time.
But on this planet, I'm still having my breath, so it's not too late on this.
Never.
No.
Never. We'll sort it out. Right. Let's just recap on that one. Because no bond means no responsibility. Means no power of official signature. Oh.
That's the souk. That's what we want.
No, they give it.
No.
There's a signature.
Yeah, but we want yours.
Besides that, before we go to yours, I'm just now still with them.
Okay.
There's an official signature. This official signature means no power unless there's a bond against public liability.
Public liability.
And that's the first place that you can dis die eerste plek waar jy die ding as oneervol kan skraap, né?
Dis een van die maniere. Ja, ons baie maniere wat ons nou verstaan. Maar een van hulle is om net te sê want dis 2 vroue.
En as hy nie public insurance het nie, dan is dit 'n unlawful document. Want sy is nie by regte om hierdie ding te kan teken sonder dit nie.
Presies.
So sy is unlawful.
Op die oomblik,
Net met daai puntjie.
Maar dis 'n offer. So ek draai hom anders terom. Ek sê goed, nou weet ek, jy het 'n offer gemaak. You made the offer. And I'm accepting the offer. Now, I make the presumption that you are indemnified and that you are going to act in terms of the public insurance policy. That's all you need to do. Because if you do, then it indemnifies both of them. If it doesn't, then I'll go and say, right, what is your public liability insurance details? If it's not there, a bailiff is going to call on them, as they do on their assignees or their nominees, to go and sign up people's property. That's how serious this issue is when you understand how to turn it around. But also the responsibility to not bluff or use excessive power to get the business result that you desire. Or that you are entitled to.
It's not desire, it's more entitled to because it's mine. It's lawfully mine. It's not a loophole that I'm using. It's mine, it's my reg.
Means no power of official signature, means no legitimate corporate political power. You put them dead in their tracks. They go nowhere.
Yeah.
There's no motion. There's no writs of execution any longer. There's no application for a motion to apply for a claim that cannot be granted, or to state a claim upon which remedy cannot be granted. At times it's now. And it means no privilege to operate statutes as a corporate vehicle. You're going to be left out in the cold by saying the Act or the National Credit Act applies. We're going to apply other Act. The corporate legal power is secondary to commercial guarantors. So when someone walks in with unlimited commercial liability, that basically then overrides any corporate legal power. It's hard to understand or hard to comprehend, but that's in essence, that's a maxim, that's a commercial maxim. The corporate legal power is secondary to a commercial guarantor. And this is what I found in the Amendment Act 56 of 2000, that they amended the Act 34 of 1964 in order to bring in an extra party that could sign any documents as a guarantor or a signer of an aval. Aval and a commercial guarantor is the same thing. It's the same concept. And this is what they did. And they go further. They say case law is not a responsible substitute for a bond. So they put themselves outside of equity law in any case by using commercial guarantors on aval to do whatever they wish to. And that's why the Section 18 says that if you sign a blank paper, put a signature on a blank paper which might be the backside of a face value, you can fill it up to any amount you want to. And that's where the leverage comes in. The fractional reserve lending ratio that they utilize. Where do you think that fell out of the air? Or did it just fall out of the air? It didn't.
Nou, is ek nou reg as ek nou sê, as hulle nie publiek
versekering
het nie, is hulle in elk geval, dan sal hulle veronderstel maar dit beteken nie. Maar as hulle dit het, enige persoon kan dan optree as 'n borg, of enige persoon kan dan optree as 'n derde persoon om onder daai ding iets te teken.
Korrek, mits jy dit verklaar. Mits jy dit in die publiek registreer. Want onthou, jy's in die privaat. In die privaat kan jy doen net wat jy wil. Maar jy kan dit nie noodwendig in die publiek doen. Jy moet die reg, dis hoekom mense vir my sê, o, jy kan dan enigiets doen. Nee, dit is nie wat ek gesê het nie, ek het dit nog nooit gesê nie. Wat ek gesê het, jy moet verstaan hoe die energie wat in die privaat lê, deur een of ander transmitting utility of 'n buis in die publiek invloei, en as jy nie daai pyp beheer nie, beheer jy nie jou energie wat uiteindelik in die reservoir beland nie.
Ja, dis reg.
En ook nie terug nie.
Ja, verstaan dit.
So jy moet die pyp kan beheer. Jy moet in beheer wees van daai kanaal, of in Engels they call it a transmitting utility. You have to basically express your right to be the beneficiary to that channel in order to get the savings flow from the private into the public. Otherwise you don't do it. And they know that very well. That's the one thing that they know very well. Because it comes in and they say, ignorance of the law might be an excuse. They don't say it's not, they say it might be an excuse, because we don't know everything. But it's not a valid reason. It is not a valid reason. So I'm always looking for reasons to go back to the law rather than say I'm ignorant.
Yes.
And that's why sadly most people are highly opinionated, but they're very ill-informed. And when you do inform them with the truth, there's often a knee-jerk reaction, a recoil, and we go back to what I term cognitive dissonance. But they literally lie to themselves. So this can't be true. And they accept it as that, and it's not true. So there you go. Precisely. But that's also changing now. Because, but is not a valid reason for the commission of a crime. Now you must be careful. If you fiddle around in this equity statutes and rules and regulations, but you transgress to the point where you now start to entice gravity for natural law, you are going to carry the consequences. That is a solid statement. It is the truth, and you test it. If you want to put your career on the line by testing it, be my guest. But something's going to test you, and this is now going to happen. Because it's not a valid reason for the commission of a common law crime when the law is easily and readily available to anyone making a reasonable effort to study the law. So there are two ladies working for Nedbank that in the next few days are going to have to read a little bit. In fact, read more than they ever did in their lives before, because their careers are going to be on the line now. And it's not a threat. I'm just making a statement. Because truth as a valid statement of reality is sovereign in commerce. Truth as a valid statement of reality is sovereign in commerce. So when you deal with the truth, be careful. You're now dealing with a sovereign.
And you said it in the beginning of the document as well. The fact that you are working with this.
Yes.
This.
Yes.
What do you mean it? Maxim.
The maxim. Stella.
Yeah.
And you can bring it the other way around as well. If you have the truth as a valid statement, then you deal with the sovereign. Yes. Now you don't deal with the jack anymore. Now you deal with the king, because king is sovereign. Is regarded as sovereign. The divine right of kings is sovereign.
En is dit dan maar 'n standaard metode hoe mense so 'n dokument sal opstel, Johan?
Ja.
Jy het mos nie reg iets meer. Dit mos
jy moet die beginsel verstaan, en ek hoop hierdie beginsel gaan nou uitkom hier. Want dan vat jy enige dokument, dit gaan jou 'n bietjie tyd vat. Hierdie het my, jy weet, ek het gewerk van Saterdag af tot Sondagmiddag 3 uur.
Ja, maar dit is fantasties, want dit gee vir ons nou 'n fantastiese voorbeeld van hoe 'n mens nou so ding sal opstel.
Truth as a valid statement of reality is sovereign in commerce. And I ended that in blue and in a different font. So I make a clear distinction in this document that we're dealing with two venues, the private venue and the public venue. Alive and dead. One that can move, other one that needs something else to move it. Now, if that's the case, if truth as a valid statement of reality is sovereign in commerce, then I take them on in their own words as stated in the Bible. I think Jesus said, why do you want to throw me with stones again? Isn't it written in your own words? That was his argument. Well, that was his claim. I'm saying, right, now I'm taking them, this offer, and I'm going to do due diligence in terms of the definitions, and then decide whether I'm going to do an acceptance, a conditional acceptance, or reject it with impunity. And in this instance, I did a conditional acceptance. I did an acceptance on certain aspects of the offer, on their terms and conditions. I did a refusal by saying, no, you're going to apply the Bills of Exchange Act, and the standard terms and conditions is not applicable. So the first portion, up until where they signed the document and promised their offer, I said, I accept that. But I accept that in terms of the Bills of Exchange Act 34 of 1964 as amended by Act 56 of 2000. And this property is exempt from levy. You cannot charge me any interest or taxes, and charge the same to the legal juristic person who you wanted to put under bondage, with the interest rate fluctuating between your publicly announced rate and what the South African Reserve Bank decides on whiff and whim on their own decisions. So make him, indemnify him against it. Give that farmer what he needs in order to live and to stop being under bondage, because that's what they want to do with agriculture. They want to get us as serfs, literally subservient to the international banking cartel, and prevent them from making a livelihood the way it was designed to be in the first place.
Samen soos 'n werktou.
Ja.
Dat jy 'n bietjie harder en los as jy weer 'n bietjie.
Presies.
Dis voor die dood is kom los 'n bietjie want jy maak nog ons geld, jy weet, en dan speel jy so met jou
Ja.
tou in die keel.
En as jy vra vir iets wat werklik nodig is om daai rentelas te betaal, dan sal hulle sê vir jou nee, dis 'n risiko.
Ja. Ja.
So wat in effek gebeur wanneer dit afgekeur word, dan sit jy in 'n situasie dat jy in elk geval een of ander tyd op jou rentelas gaan default, soos hulle dit stel.
Ja.
En dan kom hulle penalty interest in, dit is wat hulle reg. Dis die room op die melk wat hulle dan afskep en vir jou sê nou gaan jy dit betaal.
Wat hulle ook kan aanpas soos dit hulle pas.
Presies. Maar ek sê vir hulle nee, jy gaan dit nie meer doen nie.
Ja.
Veral nie netbank nie.
Ja.
Alle banke. Praat nou spesifiek in hierdie geval praat ek van netbank. Julle moet maar 'n plan maak. Ek sê dit al van 2008 af. Jy gaan op 'n stadium kom dat jy nie hierdie toernooi, hierdie golftoernooi van julle kan borg nie. Jy gaan dit nie meer doen nie. Goed, offer as 'n naam, as 'n selfstandige naamwoord. A proposal to do a thing. It's a promise to perform, to do something, to do a thing. Spring of hardloop of wat ook al. Or pay an amount. Comma. So are you familiar with it or comfortable with that? It's a proposal.
Yes.
To do a thing or pay an amount. Now you are going to pay an amount based on this offer because you made the offer. Usually accompanied by an expected acceptance. Usually accompanied by an expected acceptance, comma, counter offer, return promise or act. Dis ook vir die act. So as ek iets gaan doen, aksie gaan uitvoer wat jou gaan hou by jou proposal. So I'm going to do some act, have some physical action with my response ability to keep you to your proposal. A manifestation of willingness to enter into a bargain so made as to justify another person, not a man or a woman, another person. So it's ambiguous. What are you referring to? In understanding, standing under something. Not having high moral ground, but stand under something, understanding that his assent to that bargain is invited and will conclude it. Full stop.
Yes.
A promise to perform, a promissory note. There's my reason. It's a promissory note.
Promise.
This thing is a promissory note. No doubt about it, because you made an offer, and an offer is defined as a promise. A commitment to do or refrain from doing some specified thing in the future. Commitment to do or refrain from doing some specified thing in the future. Now what if I have the ability to put something, express something, or put something on paper that will make them refrain from doing some specified thing in the future? What would that be? Deriving interest from someone else's security of person. I'm going to tell them to refrain from deriving interest from a security of person in the future.
Like you should not anymore.
And according to that, you've got the right to do that.
Correct.
No. You don't know it.
Certainly. Because now, let's take the next one. Acceptance. Acceptance is the first term defined in the Bills of Exchange Act. The first one.
Sure. Acceptance.
Before action. Acceptance.
Acceptance, yes.
In the Bills of Exchange Act 34 of 1964, as amended by Act 56 of 2000, unless the context otherwise indicates, comma, acceptance means an acceptance completed by delivery or notification. Now I'm back at a jack to a king, or kiss a frog and it turns into a prince, or from a frog to a king. I think Neil Diamond sang about it as well in one of his songs. Now the frog turned into a king. went to a prince. But a prince is a sovereign. We're dealing from a natural little thing called a frog to a sovereign. Or from a jack to a sovereign, to the king. Or from an overdraft where you are submissive to terms and conditions to a draft where you give the orders. And I'm going to show you what a draft means, and then you're going to see that it basically means pay to the order of.
Sure.
And it's simple. It's by delivery or notification. I'm notifying you that I'm accepting this. Goodbye. It's done. Or I'm sending it to you via registered mail 364-866-595-ZA, prepaid through registered letter. Now it is delivered through that letter and it's over and done. Now it's registered. It's now registered security in the public, and you cannot hide it with general accepted accounting principles in a double entry bookkeeping system, in a suspense account, or in a ledger that no one knows about. It's not possible now. Onerous title. A title acquired by the giving of a valuable consideration as the payment of money or rendition of services or the performance of conditions or assumptions or discharge of liens or charges. If you go further, you go and look at the interest and what the sureties they talk about. They basically putting a farm in bondage. They want the first and a second bond registered on a portion of that farm. They want to put it under bondage. They say, no, it's not going to happen. Because I'm accepting it with onerous title. I am taking the title, and the acquisition is through the giving of my valuable consideration as the payment of money, or the rendition of services, or the performance of conditions, or the assumptions, or the discharge of the lien or the charges against that piece of land. Thank you.
Sure.
Because I have it. It's expressed in the public. It's registered in the public. I can do it. And so can you when you express it in the public. So why would you keep on siphoning off other people's energy in order to make a living? Or so-called. Yes. But let's go further. Let's see how it unfolds. The next one, bank. In the Bills of Exchange Act, Act 34 of 1964, as amended by Act 56 of 2000, unless the context otherwise indicates, bank means, besides other things, because it's quite lengthy definition and there's interesting language used there. It means a body of persons, whether incorporated or not, that carries on the business of banking. So if I can present myself as a body of persons, on top of that my head as well, with a mind that can reason and do forensic examination on terms and conditions in an offer, then I can carry on the business of banking, because then I am a bank. So when I do an acceptance, it's not just an acceptance, it's a banker's acceptance in terms of the Bills of Exchange Act, and also in terms of the negotiable instrument definition, the comprehensive and workable definition that was put forward by late Professor Dennis Cohen and Leonard Heron. So there's my reason, and I can justify it not just with the legislation, but also through the definition of a bank. But these guys offered something else. They said an offer of banking facilities. So let's look at what banking means. Banking, the business of banking, as defined by law and custom.
Okay.
So that means before they started writing these funny terms on paper, there was also custom that basically made provision for what is called banking. Consist in receiving deposits payable on demand. That means if I, by custom, went into the mountains and came back with valuable gold, I could go and deposit it somewhere and I could ask it back on demand. It's mine. Finders keepers. Okay, so if that is the case, but now in modern times, in discounting commercial paper. Now people look at me like I'm from another planet when I say I'm doing an original issue discount on this agreement. And they say, what do you mean? That's what I mean. It's a discounting commercial paper. That's what I'm doing with this offer. I'm taking my unlimited commercial liability and I'm discounting this offer in terms of the value thereby provided.
That's it.
Because from unlimited to 2 or 3 million rand is a fraction of the unlimited, and I can deal with it. In fact, I can sign for it.
Sure.
Making loans of money on collateral security. That's what they try and do. They're trying to make a loan of money on collateral security, and they express it. They say we want a mortgage on that portion of that land. Buying and selling bills of exchange in the world market, international trade. Negotiating loans and dealing in negotiable securities issued by the government, state and national, municipal and other corporations. So run the whole spectrum of the public venue.
And that's what they mean by carry on with the business of banking.
Correct. Yes, that's banking.
You are a bank because you can receive deposits.
You can do the business of banking then.
Yes. Besides receiving deposits, you are the one that continuously make the deposits. You walk into the bank and say, I want to buy a vehicle. They say, well, how much do you need? I don't know, 450,000. Say, well, are you going to fill in the loan application form? Yes, please. Where do I sign for it? Because I want that vehicle today. And you sign a note, you give it to them, and you basically now offer them a note that they take in as a bank as well as a deposit-taking institution.
Yes, that's different motif.
And
You deposited the money from
there you are, but
because you signed the document.
Yes, but you never registered it in the public. That's the issue that I bring over to everyone. When you do a commercial transaction, for goodness sakes, make sure that the note is registered in the public before you present it to the bank. Because if you don't, it's gone. Then you contract them on security fraud. But if it's registered, if it's got a tracking number, they cannot hide it. I can always track it back. That's why I track it with this registration number.
You can use it as a reference on the document.
Fantastic.
Well, the reference has other meaning as well. We're going to look at that now. It's not just a reference. It refers. Right, so far we've covered offer and banking. So let's go a little bit deeper in that, and we look at banker, which was taken out. The Amendment Act 56 of 2000 took banker out and just left behind bank. Before 2000, banker is still defined as that. You can't take that out of the legal dictionary. So it might be out of the legislation, but there's a reason for that.
Yeah, okay. What's that reason?
Yes,
That must be.
that's the issue. Once they take that away, to not give you the ability to exercise your rights as a banker and see, well, the only banker that I know is Nedbank Limited of Nelspruit. That's not the case. Listen what it says. In general sense, there we're back at the general in command of the troops. But in this it means general sense. Person that engages in business of banking. In general sense. In narrower meaning, or more specific, a private person. A private person that can only be a natural person. You cannot have a private person as Nedbank Limited because it's a duly registered company in the public. Cannot be. Who keeps a bank? Oh really? Who keeps a bank? So there's someone behind Nedbank, and that's why I keep on saying there's a private door to that institution. Always. And when you have an account with them, you also have the ability or the ownership of the private side and the public side of that account if you understand how to execute that or how to deal with it. One who is engaged in the business of banking without being incorporated. Now, I'm non-domestic, non-incorporated, as wild as the day I was born, as I said earlier.
But if I took that word out, is it still applicable? No.
How do you mean? If they took
As hulle daai woord banker uitgehaal het, want kyk, hier staan toch 'n bank moet 'n body of moet 'n body wees, verstaan? Hierdie is meer 'n persoon, 'n individu. Nou hoekom het hulle dit uitgehaal? As hulle dit uitgehaal het, is dit een van die dinge wat hersien is in hierdie act, né? Geld dit dan nog? Dan geld dit mos nie meer nie, nee.
Just ask that question again.
Wat ek nou net hieruit sien, nee, is hierso word gepraat het oor die definisie van 'n bank.
Yes.
It's a body. The individual person is being taken is uitgelaat. Maar hierdie banker maak voorsiening vir 'n individu.
Ja.
En nou kan ek sien hoekom hulle dit uitgehaal het, want hulle wil nie die individu betrokke hê by dit nie.
Nee, dit is nie uitgehaal nie.
Banker is uitgehaal.
Hy is hersien.
Je bank is nie uitgehaal nie, banker
is nie 'n probleem met bank nie. Bank is 'n body of something, nee. Maar banker is uitgehaal en dis die individu, die persoon.
Ja, private persoon, private person.
Ja, maar as dit nou hersien is, in die hersiende uitgawe van die wet, nee, is dit uitgehaal, is dit uit dan onwettig as 'n persoon om dan op te tree as 'n banker?
Nee, glad nie. Maar hulle het dit weer verskoon. It's been concealed now with the extra party coming in as a signer of an aval.
O ja, dis reg. Ja.
They don't define a signer of an aval.
Okay.
They don't even define aval. You need to go to a dictionary to see that it's a surety.
Okay.
Or someone who to stand surety.
So hulle het met uitgehaal en verskil, is nog daar.
Still there.
Want dis amper asof dit nodig is om verskil te word sodat elke ou nie kan besef dat hy 'n banker kan wees.
That's the point. That's the point. That's what happened. That's why I keep on maintaining that something happened between 1999 when it was the last, basically the exit strategy for a reorganization, bankruptcy in terms of America, that had 3 in a row, 3 strikes and you out, from 1999 to 2001, when the interest escalation on the debt just went exponentially up, where they started to contract, but they contracted with an execution that happened on the World Trade Center. Next one, facilities. That which promotes the ease of any action. Operation, transaction, or course of conduct. There's your con again, and a duct. You've been conned into letting something go through another duct. Be careful. Operation. I'm used to use facilities to operate in. And I'm doing a forensic operation now on these things, and it doesn't make sense to me. Now, the term normally denotes, depend and denote. Now it's not a note anymore, it's now denoted. Inanimate means rather than human agencies. The term normally denotes inanimate means rather than human agencies. It has to be in terms of their terms and conditions, which depends the existence of an obligation or subordinates the existence of liability. The one belongs to an inanimate and the other one a human, and they talk about human agencies, your human resources department, so it goes deeper than that, but essentially that's what they denote. Though it may also include animate beings, like the poor farmer, the real man, that is conned into accepting these terms and conditions because he doesn't have a comprehension of the terms. And I don't say derogatory. The point is, firstly, it's Afrikaans, they put it in English, and secondly, they did not have full disclosure on those terms and conditions. It's never been done. And we're going to do it now with everyone. And I've got news for people working for Nedbank. You are going to make offers to people out in the public, and it's going to be returned as an acceptance that you don't expect. It's going to be like a Trojan horse. It's going to come from all avenues and angles, and it's going to take you by surprise. So if we understand what business means, then we look then at the next one, the division, banking, business banking division, act of distributing among a number. Portion of territorial area marked off for a particular purpose. Portion of territorial area. Collateral security for a loan or a mortgage, first and second on a piece of land. Operating or administrative unit of government. There's again the reorganization, bankruptcy. You cannot administer anything unless it's insolvent. Administration. Your admin is behind because we're dealing with a reorganization, bankruptcy. And it says administrative unit of government, comma, court, comma, business, comma, or school system. So even your school system is administrated and children are brought up in a reorganization, bankruptcy. No wonder they don't recognize what it is, and secondly how to do a rehabilitation.
Bankruptcy.
Reorganization, bankruptcy.
We not.
Correct. But we
But bounce it on us.
yes, and we've gone through it. Operating or administrative unit. So you have an operating unit of government or you have an administrative unit of government. And there they show you up that you can have a de jure or a de facto unit of government. And we've got a de facto unit of government. We haven't had a de jure one for as long as I know.
Yeah, that's true.
I can't find when there was a de jure government. And it's time that we do it now. That we express that right to do it and execute that. Nedbank Limited, in commas, Nedbank in inverted commas, a public company with limited liability.
Wow.
There's no doubt about it. Duly registered and incorporated in terms of the company laws of the Republic of South Africa. When you consider that statement, a public company with limited liability, duly registered and incorporated in terms of the company laws of the Republic of South Africa, what does it tell you about the Republic of South Africa at this point in time? Nedbank Limited, a public company with limited liability, duly registered and incorporated in terms of the company laws of the Republic of South Africa. What does it tell you about the Republic of South Africa? It is also a corporation. It has to be. It's not a land mass.
Nedbank is a corporation, so
correct. It's incorporated into the corporation called the Republic of South Africa.
Okay.
Like the United States of America. The United States of America is not the United States of America. And people say, well, what are you talking about? The USA is the United States of America with a president, which is a corporation.
Yes.
But this corporation with a director, and I don't know if they have a president, but they have a director. It's a corporation. There's a president, a vice president, directors or chief executive officers and all the other. We're dealing with a corporation.
So on the other side of the coin, America has people.
Correct.
Standing on the ground on their feet.
Correct. You've got the states. The state of Texas, which is now a state of consciousness, of conscious Texans, say we are not going to tolerate the federal government any longer. They're making a distinction between the two. And we need to do the same. A deposit-taking institution, there they express it, a deposit-taking institution, Nedbank Limited, you're a deposit-taking institution. So unless someone deposits something with you, you can't do anything else with it. And if you go and look at it clearly, their mandate makes it very clear. They cannot use their own stock and they cannot use their client's stock to loan to someone else. So what do they utilize then if that is the case? There's just one option, and that's a security of person that is brought in as a note, a promissory note that you deposit, and from there they take the liquid certain liability and they turn it into an illiquid uncertain asset. I hope that makes it clear. That's it.
Maar net so kan hulle ook dan mos nie my
promissory note
refuse nie, want dis ook mos 'n deposit.
Presies. Dis wat ons nou by uitkom. Dis om vir wat hulle sê vir jou, wel hulle hoef dit nie te doen nie.
Hulle moet.
So ja, jy hoef nie, maar dit het 'n impak of dit het sekere ja, daar sekere aspekte wat van ter sprake kom. Want julle het julle mandaat ontvang in die eerste plek in terme van die publieke beleid. As jy mooi gaan kyk, Suid-Afrikaanse Reservebank het die enigste issuing bank geword, maar die kommersiële banke moet nog steeds hierdie goed eerbiedig. So as jy dit nie eerbiedig nie, hou jy nie die willekeurige bankrotskap in stand nie, en dan skep jy nou omstandighede vir die onwillekeurige bankrotskap of die sekwestrasie, die onwillekeurige bankrotskap of sekwestrasie, en dit hou die gemeenereg implikasies in. Dat as jy nie jou werklike skuldenaar in die gesig kan staar, dan is daar nie 'n saak nie. Goed. Registered as such in terms of the Banking Act, Act number 94 of 1990, previously the Deposit Taking Institutions Act. So daar was 'n Deposit Taking Institutions Act, niemand het dit gelees nie, hulle het verander in 'n Bank Act genoem, niemand lees dit nie, en almal sê, well, Nedbank is a bank defined as a bank in terms of the Act number 94 of 1990, the Banking Act. But the eerste een sê, a bank means a body of persons, whether incorporated or not. That's not a definition.
Ja.
Dit is 'n stelling.
Ja, dis reg.
Dit is 'n wye stelling.
Yes.
Whether incorporated or not. Nedbank is incorporated, val hy onder dit? Nie noodwendig nie. Dit kom neer op 'n private persoon as sulks. Carrying on business under the name and style of Nedbank and having its principal place of business at the 6th floor, Forum 1, 33 Woofd Street in Braamfontein. It's almost as if when they did the city planning that they chose this. The 6th floor, Forum 1, 33 Woofd, Capital Street in Braamfontein. Die Braambos, die brandende Braambos. Braamfontein, daar het jy 'n braambos en jy het 'n fontein waar daai braambos water gegee het, waar daar vloei is. Hoekom is dit Braamfontein? Waar het dit vandaan gekom? Hoekom spesifiek daarop? Jy sê dit 'n vloei, Forum 1 of Forum I, 33 Woofd Straat, wat nogal lyk soos Woofd, wat heel waarskynlik 'n Hollandse term is. Hoe ver gaan dit terug? Hierdie simboliek wat hierdie ons gebruik. Ons gaan dit ontbloot. Oopmaak. Next one, borrower. He, nie she nie, so kan 'n vrou nie iets leen nie. He, to whom a thing, what? He to whom a thing or money is lent at his request. This is a borrower. Now in terms thereof, Mrs. de Klerk and Mrs. Venter, please explain to me what you mean by borrower. He to whom a thing or money is lent at his request. So what do you really lend to me? A thing. What thing are you talking about? A credit facility, perhaps? And not really money, because money doesn't exist. Not of substance. There's no money of substance any longer. Right. Let's go to facility letter. And I broke it down because they talk about the facility letter here. Hereinafter we term this a facility. Yes, we are pleased to set out below in this letter, facility letter, the terms and conditions on which Nedbank is prepared to make liabilities or facilities, I beg your pardon, the terms and conditions on which Nedbank is prepared to make facilities available to the borrower. So let's look at those terms a little bit closer. Facility letter, I broke it up in two. We know now what is facilities. A facility on its own. So they have a definition for facilities and they have definition for a facility. So specific it is. Something that is built, constructed, construction of a statute, or installed. Can you install a program in a computer? Now you can have a facility which is an installed program on a computer. To perform some particular function in modern times, but it also means something that promotes the ease of any action or course of conduct.